Hi, today we're going to talk about the C92 Permanent Partial Disability Award. And this is a type of compensation which if you have allowed conditions in your claim, you would be entitled to. And it doesn't matter if you've had lost time in your claim, if you received temporary total disability compensation. It doesn't matter if there's really serious injuries or even minor injuries. And basically, the way it works is before the injury, there's this fictitious version of you which is, like, let's say 100% perfect. And I know nobody's 100% perfect, but this is kind of the idea. After the injury, because of your allowances in your claim, let's say you're only 90% perfect now. So you were 100 and now you're 90% perfect. You're entitled to the difference between the pre-injury you and the after-injury you, and which in this case 100 minus 90 is 10%. So you'd be entitled to a 10% permanent partial disability award. And so when can you do this? If you received comp or whatever, or any kind of compensation, it's 26 weeks after the date of last comp paid, or 26 weeks after the date of injury. So in this instance, if you didn't receive any compensation, then you could file this C92 application 26 weeks after the date of injury. And what that means is you're going to file the application, you'll undergo an exam, and the doctor will assign you a percentage permanent partial disability based upon the conditions in your claim. So then the question is, how much are you going to get paid for this award? Well, this award is paid in one lump sum, and the tricky part I find is the rate. So the rate that the permanent partial disability is paid, I feel, is the tricky part. But the actual calculation is you take your percentage permanent partial disability rate, you multiply that by the percentage permanent partial disability that you've been assigned based upon your allowances in your claim, and then you multiply this product by 2. And so, okay, so now let's talk about the tricky part, is the rate. So basically, the way it works is if you have your average weekly wage, and if you don't know what that is, then that's basically the amount of money you made over the year before the injury divided by 52. So that's your AWW, your average weekly wage, pre-tax income divided by 52 weeks in a year. So you take 6 2/3 of this average weekly wage, and if this product is over the percentage permanent partial disability maximum for the year of your injury, then your rate will be the percentage permanent partial disability max. So then I think the question you may have is, okay, how do I know what the percentage permanent partial disability max is for the year of my injury? Good question. And you could find that by going to the bwcohio.gov site. So that's bwc.ohio.gov. And then if you look at the top, you have home, workers, employers, safety services, medical providers, and BWC library. Go down to publications, click on that. Then if you scroll down, you see injured worker publications, click on that. And if you scroll down here, you're going to see other, and you're going to see comp rates. So I've already opened this, and if I look for 2017, I go roll over, and this is the column you want to be looking in, the percentage permanent partial maximum. So for the year of 2017, for instance, it's $300.67. So I have an example, and I have written that right there. So I have some examples of how this works. So example 1, assume an injury occurred in 2017, and assume your AWW is 600. So 6 2/3 of 600 is around $420. This exceeds the percentage permanent partial disability max for 2017, which is 367. So your percentage permanent partial disability rate is 367. So I have another example, and I'm going to skip that one, and you could look at that. This will all be posted in the comments or in the info section of the video. But I want to go to example 3. So in example 3, assume your injury occurred in 2014. So again, let's go look at that chart. So we have 2014, and we go over to the column of percentage permanent partial maximum, and so it's 283. So if we exceed 283 after we do the 6 2/3 or AWW, then you'd get 283. Well, let's go see what we have in our example. So assume in this example that your injury occurred in 2014. Your AWW is 400, and again the PPD max for 2014 is 283.00. So I do 6 2/3 of 400, and I get around $200 and $266.80, which does not exceed 283. So my rate is $266.80. Okay, so now we know how to determine our rate, and again, that's the tricky part. So finally, how do we calculate the award? How do you calculate how much money you're going to get? So you use example 3 and above, and we calculated again that our PPD rate is $266.80. So, and then in this instance, you go to the doctor finds that you have a 10% permanent partial disability, and then the BWC issues an order, and you have that 10% permanent partial disability. So you take that PPD rate times 10, and then you multiply that by 2, and then the 5336 is your C92 percentage permanent partial disability award. So if you're ever going to hearings, if this comes up and you're like, how much am I getting paid for that? Your C92 award, that's it. But bottom line is, there's a bit more nuances involved with all this C92 stuff. But bottom line is, if you've had a work injury, and this is a form of compensation which you're entitled to, if you don't get this compensation, the C92 award, it's money you're leaving on the table. The fact of the matter is, you had a work injury, you haven't allowed claim, and in some manner you probably suffered to some extent. So go get this award. It's compensation. Don't leave it on the table. You had the injury, just take it. So in closing, as I always say at the end of all these videos, get it. This workers' compensation stuff is complicated enough that it will pay dividends if you get a workers' comp attorney. You'll do far better with a workers' comp attorney than you will without one. It's possible you do this stuff on your own, but just like it's possible that I could fix my car on my own, but I wouldn't trust myself to fix my car. So, and if you have had an injury, if you didn't miss any time and your pain had gone away in 2 or 3 days, maybe you don't have to file a claim. But if there's anything beyond that, if you missed a week or 2 or whatever, and you have lingering pain and issues, again, it's going to pay dividends to get a workers' comp attorney involved. We would love to have you at Malik & Malik, but otherwise there's many competent workers' comp attorneys in both Columbus and around Ohio. So hopefully you found some use out of this video, and if you have any questions or comments, you feel free to email me. Otherwise, have a nice day.